has been a while since we had a little vlog, a little catch up. Do excuse literally everything about my appearance just now. I am about 6 different shades of white, brown, pink and red. I'm sweating already. It's 34 degrees. Finding the motivation to do anything is challenging. But we have some stuff to catch up on and I have a lot of things to get done today. So this is my own way of not only sharing with you guys, but also just, getting my arse off the couch. So the last time I checked in with you guys, I had my appointment at the Questura here in Italy. Now this is essentially the equivalent of the kind of immigration police, the big scary state police that all us foreigners have to go to if we want to be accepted into the country legally. And my first appointment, in case you haven't seen that video or in case it's been a while, because it has, that was around April kind of time that this happened. It's now the first week of July. It's been a fairly long time since I had that appointment, and I have only just in the last few weeks received my permesso di soggiorno, which is kind of my residence permit that allows me to stay here in Italy, after 7 months. After 7 months of waiting and another 2 full months after that appointment I had at the start of April that I was super nervous about and super, hyping myself up for. It took another 2 months after that. Fine. I had been well warned by Italians, by fellow immigrants, that the Italian bureaucratic system is a challenge. We're only finally starting to get the ball rolling in me kind of being a person here in Italy. By that, I don't just mean, spiritually and personality speaking, because my language skills still need a bit of practice, but, I'm only now beginning the steps to even be able to find a proper job that wouldn't involve me having to use a British bank account in the meantime, or, any of the mess that would come along with that. The wheels are in motion, the cogs are a-turning, but the bank account is not yet a-opening. So we have another appointment in a few days to kind of clarify another few things, sign some more documents, do some more paperwork, and hopefully by that point I will have both a residence permit to stay in this country I have now been in for 8 months and a bank account, so that if I would like to have a bit of a personality, whether that would be starting a business here or finding work here, help develop my language skills and, meet some new people, get a bit more settled in, that is, after 8 months, that's where we are. Now, this is me remaining positive, and I am still as calm and as peaceful as I have ever been since moving here. There is not one shred of regret. It just really has put into perspective for me how much work anyone who moves country has to go through, and whether you've even just moved to the country next door or somewhere even within your own country, if there is this much paperwork to be done, you have my utmost respect. It is a challenge, to say the least. But you may have noticed there have been some more updates since the last vlog. I got myself a new tattoo. Having been here for almost a year now, not that the paperwork would suggest so, I decided to get a little memento of the part of Italy that I'm from. I had thought about something cutesy, something perhaps a bit more stereotypical of the country as a whole, a slice of pizza, a little cute cartoonish plate of spaghetti, a glass of red wine, but none of them really spoke to me as a memento of where I have been and the region that I am in and have been for the last 8 months. But one of the things that our region of Veneto, the northeast, is known for is its love of alcohol. And some of the drinks it has created are some of those that are iconic throughout the entire country. For example, the Spritz Aperol, or the Spritz Campari, if it was a bit more red. And so that's what I got. Francesco is not a fan, but he has no tattoos, so he doesn't really understand the kind of ridiculousness of the somewhat scratching addiction that you get once you've had a tattoo. This is my 5th one, and it's actually the smallest one that I have. Second smallest being this raspberry here, as a sort of nod to the birthmark that I have above it. But I just wanted something cute and to start dressing my arms up a little bit because they're just a bit too bare, Other than that, there is today a little bit more errand running to be done in terms of some bureaucracy. I have to go and run to the kind of copy print centre that we have here in town, because I have a form to send to the student loan company back in Scotland to let them know that I am no longer in Scotland for the time being. I have some materials to print out because I have started to kind of improvise and teach English to a friend that we have here, and he has a goal to learn up to a certain stage by a certain point, so who better than a mother tongue person who has never taught anyone a language or learned any other languages. So I have a few things to do today, along with a lot of cleaning, a little bit of shopping. It is late morning right now, but once I have finished preening and polishing some of the layers of dirt off of myself, I'm going to go and have some lunch, run these errands, and we can have another little chat after. And I'll maybe show you some of the lovely weather and scenery outside today. Does that sound good? Good. By the way, can we just take a second to listen to how loud these cicadas are? It's insane. They do not exist in the UK, and I've never lived anywhere warm. So hearing an insect that can make that noise is just fascinating. Well, the whole thing I was going to joke about is that we've got this beautiful plate of fresh seasonal melon, some lovely prosciutto, speck, some beautiful little mozzarella, and some leftover cold rice for the Chinese. We are back. I have my shopping. Let's see what we got. From the holy land of Lidl, I just picked up a few little bits and pieces for some snacking tonight. I got some chickpeas. I got some of these pepperoni affilati. These are delicious. I've never really seen anything quite similar back home, but this is very common here. It's basically super thinly sliced, just sweet peppers, not chili peppers, but just your standard kind of bell pepper, as you might call them, under vinegar. And I love pickled things, so these are just great to have on hand. I got some cucumbers. I got some chewing gum. I got some lovely fresh bread, which is a bit more of a thing here. I've noticed, like, you can buy that kind of soft sliced loaf that's a little bit more common in Scotland and in the UK as a whole. But even if you're in a big and budget supermarket like Lidl, it seems more common for people to pick up like an actual fresh baked bread rather than the soft pre-sliced stuff. Upside being that it is delicious and the texture is fabulous, but it goes stale super fast. So we only tend to buy 2 to 4 pieces at a time, or otherwise. And finally, I got this cheese solely out of nothing but curiosity. It's called Primo Sale con pistacchio. First salt with pistachios in it, and as you can see, it's already suffering from the heat a tiny bit, so I need to get it in the fridge. But basically it looks like it's some sheep and goat's milk cheese with some nuts in it. Crazy. So most, not all, but most of the day's errands have been run. Some printing, some shopping, some general life admin in terms of getting in touch with the Scottish Student Loans Company and sorting out bank stuff here in Italy. All of the adult, boring stuff that's not the whimsical, romantic side of living in the Mediterranean. But there are still some more things to be done tonight. I have a big chunky editing task, the capital T, which is the monthly job of editing the podcast episode for YouTube. If you haven't listened to the Sweet Nothings podcast already, go and sort that out immediately. You can find it on Apple Music, you can find it on Spotify, and you can find it here on the channel. But editing the kind of video file is always a bit more of a chunkier task that takes more time, and after speaking for an hour, editing it down to 40 minutes in terms of an audio file, listening to it to make sure it's all okay, and then doing it again for YouTube, and then listening to it to make sure it's all okay, the sound of my own voice is like torture. But I have nothing else to procrastinate with this evening, so I need to get that done so I can get it up for you guys in time. And similarly, there is a little bake that I would like to retry. While I am just already warm and sweaty, I figured why not turn on the oven for 40 minutes. I recently showed you guys in one of my cheeky little what I eat in a day short videos, these kind of peach crumble bars I've been working on. Essentially a solid kind of biscuit or pastry base, I haven't really decided, with a soft baked peach cinnamon vanilla filling and then like a brown sugar walnut crumble stuff on top. But I made them last time and they were good, but they weren't quite perfect. They were a little bit too chunky, a bit too much of a mouthful, even when you cut them into really small pieces. And I made the pastry on the bottom too thick and not really flavorful enough aside from just butter, which isn't a problem, but when it's super thick and all you really taste is butter, it kind of overwhelms those lovely peaches and doesn't really complement the nice walnuts and stuff on top. So back to the drawing board with that this afternoon. And in between that, have something cold, refreshing and minimal effort for dinner. Let's make a crumble, for which we will need butter, a lot more butter, some beautiful but still slightly underripe peaches, which we got for less than €2. We're going to need some flour and some sugar, walnuts, whoops, not that many, and patriotism, some oats. And because seasoning is important, even in sweet foods, some salt and some cinnamon. Essentially, the vibes we are going for is we're going to bake our crumble bars in a tin like this because fruit crumbles are one of my favorite desserts. Punto basta, period, always. The problem is, in case I hadn't mentioned it already, it's bloody hot. And the thought of a hot dessert is just too much. But the thought of turning a hot dessert into something that could also be eaten cold, like fridge cold, or room temperature, is much more appealing and still has all the same flavors, if that makes sense. So that's the plan. What I kind of failed to achieve last time was the right bottom for these bars. The top and the filling I was totally happy with, but I feel like we need to work on the base. I think I'm just going to make essentially the same thing as the crumble topping, but without the kind of chunky bits from the walnuts and the oats, because you equally don't want the base to crumble to bits when you take it up, when you pick it up, or when you stab it with a fork. I believe that the most sensible thing to do will be to just blitz together butter, sugar, flour and seasonings to make a sort of loose biscuit dough almost, and just press that straight into the tin. Chill, bake, peach filling crumble on top. Let's do it. For this, I'm going to pop into the fridge for about 30 minutes, preheat the oven in the meantime, and we'll bake it. In the meantime, we need to bake the crumble topping. So in here, I've just put in the exact same weight as before of flour, sugar, salt, and cinnamon, to which I'm just going to add, apologies again, headphone users, a handful of walnuts, just eyeballing it, and just the same kind of vibes with the oats. This just adds slightly different flavor and texture to that crumble. Nice and textured, as you can see, it forms little crumbles if you want, big or small, and otherwise it's just like kind of breadcrumby. So I'm going to set that aside just for a second until we're ready to top our little peach bars. For now, some cleanup and some peach slicing.